All right, everybody, welcome back to Success Chronicles. I'm Coach Mike McKay. Today I'm joined by Barry Richter, the president and CEO of Hausmann Group. It is our very, very first Olympian on the show this time. So Barry's a Madison graduate, a hockey player, and his Olympics was the 1994 Olympics. After that, Barry played professionally for a period of time and then jumped into insurance, something you didn't know about in my favorite time period of all, 2008, when the economy didn't work. So Barry's led himself, his industry, his company through both the recession and the pandemic, and who knows what will happen next. Barry, appreciate the time. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks for the intro and everything. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, me too. Why don't you share a little bit about Hausmann?
Yeah, so Hausmann, we've been around since 1946, independent agency, brokerage that we have locations in Madison. Predominantly have 90 people in Madison. We have about 25 or 30 people in Milwaukee area, right outside Milwaukee. And so we're a full service insurance where we do a lot more commercial on the business side and the property and liability and workers' compensation. Then we also do on the employee benefits, so the healthcare side. So fun times, as everyone knows, if they're getting their personal lines insurance renewals and everything that are coming in, because it's just a lot of things that are happening in our world as you see the hurricanes that are down in Florida or the mudslides and fires out in California, and even the Midwest has a lot of stuff, and it just unfortunately, it affects everyone's insurance.
Yeah, definitely upheaval in the marketplace. I was attracted to your core values, and particularly the first one, which is get stuff done, with silent HIT in the middle of there. So how did you all come about with that focus?
Yeah, so what we did, Mike, is that we always we looked at who are the most successful people or the great examples of our company in the past years and existing, and go through a little exercise, so to speak, and put things on a board of all the different characteristics and behaviors that are from those people, and you sort of whittle it down, and basically it just we're in the service industry, right?
Yeah.
And we need people to get stuff done. You got to own the outcome, and you got to have humble confidence doing it, and you always have a continuous improvement attitude. And those are the four things that we just strive. And so now we use that when we're a little bit more intentional in hiring people, and this is who we are, right? This is the most, you're going to have success if you embody these core values, and then you can also coach people, coach up, coach out. So it's been a good thing for us. We did it maybe a couple of years ago, and it's like I said, it's who we are. It's the fabric of Hausmann.
Yeah, as a coach, I can tell you that's the dead right path. To be able to attract the right talent. So if y'all are listening to this and you don't have and live up to core values, hiring will be harder for you. Management will be harder for you. And in reality, it's a service industry world right now. So I friggin' love that. Like we talked a little bit, I beelined in on that first thing.
Yeah, well, people love it. They love it, and you said the PG version or the G version of it, and we don't apologize for it, and we can always say get stuff done, or we can say get done, and it's and our clients love it, and the people that we work with absolutely, we don't apologize for it. We got to do that, if you're going to be here at Hausmann.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in college hockey, collegiate hockey, pro hockey, lifelong passion. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up right here in Madison, Wisconsin, right here. As I've grown up playing a lot of different sports. My father played professional football for Washington for 8 years, and he also played. He actually played 3 sports here at Wisconsin. Was an All-American in football and first-round pick for Washington, and was a heck of a baseball player. So he was one of the last. He is the last 3-sport letter winner of Wisconsin. And back then, freshmen couldn't play, so He's got 9 letters. That's all.
Holy
That's how old it
shit.
was. And yeah,
That's crazy.
exactly. So they, they have a statue of him over at Camp Randall as he was the athletic director here and sort of turned around the athletic department. But growing up with him and 3 brothers, a lot of sports was going on, and I really just gravitated towards hockey, and that was something that um, I took a passion for and had some skill sets, and so I ended up coming here to UW, playing for the Badgers. Got a scholarship to come here to play, and I chose the right team because we won the national championship my freshman year. So,
I,
so,
I mean, was
so
that one of the last ones? It seems like there's been a little bit of a drought in
a little
Wisconsin
bit.
men's hockey anyway.
Yes, you're correct. I think the last one was 2006, but we always like to say with the other champions, we were the best one because we won the league title, the playoff title, and then the playoffs. But so played here, was All American played, and then I was fortunate to, like you said, to be chosen to play for the Olympic team and represent our country over in Lillehammer, Norway. And that was the last time that college players were able to play. And then it sort of switched over to professional.
Sure.
We didn't do as well as the 1980 team, the Miracle on Ice. And that was always the goal, is to medal or to win. But it's, you have to have a lot of things go right. And even though it was a great experience to be with other athletes in Olympic Village, we didn't bring home a medal or anything, but once again, awesome experience to be there and put on the colors and represent your country. So
Gotta be
from there,
exciting.
then yeah, and I hate to be, from there, then I went and played pro, and it was a journey of 15 years, and we'll just condense it for you. I got to play in the NHL, I got to play in the minor leagues, and I went and played in Europe. So it was a lot of different experiences that I gained over the years playing professionally, the things that you don't get in the office setting that you can take and sort of makes you who you are today.
Yeah. I would imagine. Oh, by the way, so you said your dad played for Washington. I just got to show you this because we had Theismann came
Oh,
and spoke in Milwaukee right at the end of the pandemic for us. We brought him into town, so we made him sign footballs for us, and super fun guy to sit down and chat with and have dinner with. So
sure. There's a story, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, but that he changed his name to Theismann because it rhymed with Heisman.
he did. That's
So
well, he says that's the story that he said his dad told him he had to do that,
yeah,
and then his agent said you have to do it. He's like, yeah, my whole life I was Thiesman, and then my dad said that doesn't
Theismann.
rhyme.
Yep.
That doesn't
Yeah.
rhyme with Heisman. So
Yeah.
when so you finished professional hockey and you jumped right into the super dynamic, exciting, passionate world above
The insurance, everyone,
insurance.
yeah, insurance, right? And so it was actually about 4 years prior to me finishing up, and I was finishing up in Switzerland. My wife was from Madison, and we had kid number 4 coming, and so we knew that it was time to stop playing, even though I felt like I could play another 5 years and the body was feeling good. But I was doing light internships over those last couple of years just to sort of
Okay.
break it in. And despite the fact that you play professionally, it's not like you can go retire and do nothing. And frankly, I wanted to do something. The problem with that is that all the contacts that I was talking to over the years, when I officially stopped in 2008, as everyone knows, it was the recession.
Yeah.
And the only one that was hiring at this time was a smaller agency called Fish and Shoal Camp that took a flyer on me. And so I started in insurance, and I had my license in property and casualty, and did that for a couple of years before I went to Hausmann in 2010. So blessed to fall into the business because, as anyone and the viewers that are all listening are like, insurance, you're like, it's like Ward Cleaver opened up the briefcase and
They just don't
doing
know about it yet.
a life policy at the kitchen table with the tie and all that stuff, knocking on doors, and frankly, it couldn't be even further removed from that. And but that's what everyone sort of thinks. No one goes to school for it, right?
Yeah.
I was a marketing major, and And so but I did fall into it, and frankly, it was the best thing ever. It's something where you're helping people navigate the risks and their assets and everything, and at the same time establishing relationships. So it's I feel really good about it because that's something that we hold our hat on here, Hausman's, to be technical and help people. But when I first started, it was like you're right there by used car salesman. You know what I mean? So
I was telling a group yesterday that a father figure when I was younger said, no matter what, be overinsured. He's like, buy all the insurance that anybody is willing to sell you. He goes, because you're gonna pay an extra 10 or 15% on premium money, but you'll have peace of mind.
yeah,
And so I've just been my whole life like, yeah, I don't want to worry about that. If something happens, I just want it, taken care of. So in the commercial world in particular, I used to run factories, plastics injection molding factories, and we depended on the insurance companies a lot. Like,
sure.
how do you run this? What are the actual arc flash standards and the technical stuff that you guys can bring to the table? I think not very many people understand how valuable that your industry and your company can be.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you went in the plastics and having that company, it's like you come in and you figure out what do we need to look at and really understand your business, and then find out what are the gaps, and if product gets something happens to that, how can we navigate those situations? Just risk mitigation was it comes down to. And so there's always things and there's things that you're going to self-insure too as well. You're going to take that risk because
Yep.
you just you don't need to be insurance poor, so to speak, but that's our job to sort of point out. As
Yep.
as the great Tim Hausmann always told me, he said, we're trying to bring like the future problems to the present. Like, are you okay if this happens, that you
Sure.
have this much coverage? And then when you put it in that sense, you're like, no, I'm not okay. Okay, let's look at certain things and how to help out with that.
Yeah. So in 2014, you become the president of Hausmann. Is that right? So that's
Yes,
a pretty fast path, 6 years from jumping into the industry to a role like that. Tell us a little bit about how that happened. How did you
sure.
know you could, how did you even know you could run the company?
Well, as when I first joined Hausman, it was in 2010. I took the approach of any free agent sort of takes the approach like, okay, how many left-handed defensemen do they have? So, so, and it's
That's
pretty
cool.
simple, right? You don't want to. Do you want to join a team that has a lot of people like you? Or and I felt like, what, this was a great place, and I love the culture, and I didn't know anyone here, but I could tell that there was maybe a little bit of a gap in leadership in between
Sure.
the 50, 60-year olds, and then really good 25 and 30-year olds. And I was 40 at the time. So I felt the culture, all those things sort of checked the box. And then I made the leap to come over here, so that I was still consulting at the time. And then our president, then, not Tim Hausman, Steve Squires, I think there were some differences, and he was trying to sell the company, and there's a lot of shareholders that didn't want to sell the company. We wanted to remain
Sure.
independent, and that's part of our vision today, is to staunchly to remain independent. And with that, he got bought out, and I think they looked around the table and they said, "Hey Barry, you want to be our
Spin the
president?"
bottle, version of spin the bottle.
So I think they saw. I think it was a little bit more than that, but I think they saw some qualities that they felt that they would want in their next president, and the qualities that maybe that I displayed over the years prior. And so I just took the leap of faith at age 42 or 43, I think it was. And I don't have my master's, I
Sure.
don't, and one thing you know, that I was always relying on is my past experiences that I've had in team settings. And as you know, and people call you Coach Mike, it's very similar, right? I mean, there's a lot of parallels to, how great teams function on the
Right.
field or on the ice, and how they do that here in the office space.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, you've had lots of coaching, obviously, NHL, college. Um, what's an example of somebody who really pushed you? Because I remember a couple of coaches, telling me to quit. Like, you can't do this,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I'll show you. So what are a couple of stories or a story you're willing to share of somebody who really pushed you hard, and what did you get out of it? What's happened since then?
Yeah. So there was right after the Olympics, I got called up. I was in Binghamton, New York, which is, Bingo Beach, they call it. Well, there's no beach there. It's in the middle of, New York. It's not a great place to be, but that's the minor leagues, right? So I got called up to the Rangers, New York Rangers, and they made a big ride to the Stanley Cup. They won the Stanley Cup, but only three of us got called up, and we're called the Black Aces. So but we're in all the meetings and practices, and Mike Keenan was the coach. And if anyone knows who Mike Keenan was, he was a very strict coach. And so one of the things that a couple things that, he would look at me and practice, and he's like, "Are you hurt?" And now that was his way of saying, "You better pick it up." I was like, "You better pick it up." And I knew exactly what he was saying. And another thing is he mentioned, and I believe this was on your podcast, is like, life isn't fair.
No.
Life's not fair. Right. And maybe you sort of said life is fair, because I can't remember what you said in that podcast, but sometimes it isn't, right?
Right.
You got to pick yourself off the ground. And those are the things that I've learned over the years of playing, where you have a lot of, it's not just all success and Patrick Mahomes that you see on the TV. There's times where I got sent down and I had to pack my bag in front of 25 people, and that's failure, right? And I'm going down to the minors.
Yeah.
And so but you got to pick yourself. What are you going to do? You got to pick yourself off of the ground. So those are the resilience that, you learn over the years. Because what you see on TV is there's a lot of failures out there, and people trying to scrap and claw, just trying to make it to the big leagues.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of things that you can sort of bring into the daily life of the office, because it's vastly different.
Yeah, I was in the Army right after I got out of college, and one of my bosses kept looking at me like, he's like, there ain't nobody coming on a white horse. He's like, you better get on your own damn horse and take care of this, or nothing that's gonna happen. I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
So that's why I lasered in on the get shit done. Like, there is a chunk of luck that happens in sports and happens in business. But when they say you got to be ready for luck to hit, I mean, if you're in the work, getting the work done, right, doing all the things, best prepared to take advantage of it. And when you get called up, you're ready for it, because you're working your ass off to get shit done on taking care of that work. So
yeah, you got to make your own
breaks.
breaks. You got to make your own breaks, right? You got. I mean, at the same time, life isn't fair, but when you get called, you're ready and prepared, and sometimes you got to make your own breaks despite adversity.
Yeah. I mean, we know life happens for us, not to us. We might not like the lesson that's thrown in our face, but it's giving us a lesson that will, if we choose to take it, will benefit us in the future. What do you think your biggest learning has been at the president, CEO leadership level?
Yeah, I think it's I like to read. I like to obviously listen to podcasts and learn from others, and take bits and pieces and make it my own. And one of the things that over the course of the years is to really, and listen, I fail daily, or is emotional intelligence is a big thing that
Sure.
I try to understand myself, and how I display myself to others and everything. And also with the folks here at Hausmann, it's not just me, but flowing that down and trying to have everyone understand that, the way you act, the way you speak, or the way you listen is very, very important. And people are watching, and also there's a lot of things in there. If you can keep on getting better every day at those little things like that, you're going to be a great leader, a great manager. Not only in business, but in personally as well, with your family. So there's always, you always fall down a little bit, you know what I mean? So but as long as you understand how you can fix it and catch yourself, that's the thing. If you can catch yourself in the moment, that's where you can sort of be a really, really effective leader.
Yeah. Yeah. We say life is a mirror. So it's a mirror. It's a reflection of something you're doing. If you want something to be different outside, like you said, you got to catch yourself and do something different, tone of voice, whatever those things are. So,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
so Tom, what's the next big thing for Hausmann? What's coming up in the industry? What's coming up for y'all as a company?
Yeah, so I think it's the next big thing is just I look at it as I'm just like, hey, let's try to get those next level leaders, right? And it's just you know, I look at I was fortunate enough to see things happen at the university here at the athletic department. When I was a freshman, my father became the athletic director halfway through the year, and then he hired Barry Alvarez
It's I
to
think the
come in to
halfway
be.
mark is the salient point there, right? So he came in to
Yeah,
replace somebody. Yeah.
yeah. So it's bringing really quality. I want to bring in people that are going to make me irrelevant. That's my goal. So,
Yeah.
well, recruiting, I would say recruiting is we're very big on recruiting and keeping our culture going and bringing in people that want to be here. We like to have fun. We have to work hard as well. But it's the constant thing, right? Is that you're always it's a treadmill. You got people leaving your organization, you got people coming on, and so my job right now is to find those next level leaders and to set us up for perpetuation as we want to remain independent. So yeah.
Yeah, the treadmill part comes from the law of entropy, right? Everything's moving toward disorder. But again, if y'all are whoever's listening to this, when you're hearing this, the points of culture and the core values that you decide to run your company by, as long as they're incorporated into your hiring process, it can help you get
Yeah.
consistently better people. And if you're listening to this and you don't have core values in your business, and you're one of the people who's like, woe is me, I can't hire anybody. You got to be a better boss. You got to do the things that will attract the right talent to you. So, what
Yep.
advice would
And that was
you?
work. I mean, we had to work at that, Mike. I mean, we had to,
Yeah,
it's like 5, 7 years ago. I mean, we thought we were doing okay hiring, but now we just with those core values, like you say, just become a lot more intentional and the candidate, it's fair on the candidate, right? It's just fair, like, hey, okay, this is the
right.
organization. I understand the organization a lot better when you go through these things, and so it's it's much more clear and crisp.
Yeah, and they know what they're getting into, so you get a better retention, overall growing retention, for the right people on your team. So,
Yeah.
what advice do you have for business owners who are out just trying to schlub their way through their day, through the day?
That sounds like me schlubbing the day. You have to do, and one thing, it's one of our core values, but this is you have to just keep on getting better. I mean, if you have to just you always can learn. You can constantly learn, and that's it's just if you're not changing and trying to, and taking advantage of, whether it's coaching or just people or mentors and all those things, then you're not evolving, right? And so that's a constant. It's an absolute
Yeah,
constant, right? You weren't doing 2 or 3 years ago. We weren't doing things that we're doing today, and it's fun to see and to look back on, the improvements and the success. At the same time, I just got to keep on going, right?
yeah,
And it's a cliche, it is cliche and everyone says it, but that's to me is the biggest thing as a leader. And if you want to keep on going, you got to keep on learning.
right. I got one last question for you that I never prepare people for. So
Oh,
that
oh,
question is there something that you wish I would have asked you that I didn't?
um, I think it's well, yeah. Is there any regrets? I guess is there any regrets in the career of hockey, or are there any regrets? I think that's something I always look back on is that I feel I should have played more in the NHL.
Mm,
Um, it was a different era of uh, a lot of Canadians in the league at that time, and I'm an
sure.
American, so
Yeah.
I mean, if you you are in the minority and when you're playing because it's their game. And so and I was a college puke basically, coming to play. So but at the end of the day, I am proud of the 15 years and the great experiences, but I do regret that maybe I didn't get to play a lot more games, right? And so, but that's the way life is and how it unfolds. And once again, it's sometimes those are things there were things in my career that were controllable and uncontrollable. And I wish I had someone at the time tell me, hey, you need to do this and you need to do this, which is, maybe I should have fought a couple more times. And, back then there was more fighting.
Yeah.
And if that was the case, but when you're so young and you're getting going and you don't see things, that's where that mentoring and coaching, and I try to do with the people here because it's like, it's tough, right? It's tough to be a consultant in insurance and you're going to get kicked in the teeth. But if you're doing the right things, and I try to say like, keep on, you're doing great. You're doing awesome. If they're doing the right things, they're doing awesome. Because, back in our day, well, like no one complimented you that much. It's
No.
like, like there wasn't any pats on the back and everything, and you didn't know sometimes. And now there's
Yeah.
more. You got to be more open communication and helping people. And we've evolved like that in a society, and great leaders evolve like that. And I wish I had that. I wish we had more of that, more like communication to me as a player, like we do like now, whether it's in sports or in
Yeah.
leadership.
It's the the next level version of the are you hurt question.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're right. I coach leader part of the leadership team of Napa Auto Parts. And the challenge for them and our generation is most of us got big jobs by riding in on a white horse and fixing something. But when you become the leader, and to your point, they're one of the guys they're working on is a bench strength as well, talent development.
Mhm.
You start to think that, hey, I have to solve this problem. But somebody took a risk on you when you were a kid. Somebody took a risk on me when I was, the first jobs I had. And your willingness as the senior person to demonstrate, hey, I'm going to take a risk on your potential. And
Yeah.
there might be ramifications. If you can't do the job, I'm going to pull you back out of it. But I think part of what you described is the older we get, the generations are always different. But I think for us executives, leadership today need to tune into the fact we got promoted for different things than we want our people to do. So if you're, really building on development and strength, promote the people that create the best teams, not the best individual performance. So just something to
Hmm.
noodle, and the bigger the company, the bigger this turns out, because that's just been the way it's been. And, the reality is there's a lot of old people running companies,
Yeah.
and so they have to break, in hockey, you got to break tendency. If you're watching film and you want to have a different result, you got to break the tendency of your team. And there's a lot of similarities on that. So it's great to hear that you guys are focused on that. I still love your core values.
Well, I appreciate it. We worked hard and yeah, it's been great. And we have the signs out and everything out there where it's
Yeah.
people see them and we on the internet, everyone sort of says, hey, kudos to such and such, for GSDing. We say GSD, getting stuff
Yep.
done, right?
Yep.
So yeah, no, I thank you for recognizing that, Mike. I appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah. All right, Barry Richter, our very first Olympian. Thank you for your time today. It's great to have this chat with you, and thanks for sharing your leadership insights.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Appreciate it. Thank you.